Welcome to Between the Lines. I'm Alan Beauchamp, and we've got Congressman Chuck Fleischmann with us this week, and he'll be back next week. And we're going to start an 8-week series on energy. And we want to thank Navarro, and we want to thank IB3 for sponsoring this series and helping us, and this is going to be great. I mean, we got a lot going on in the country, folks. We're going to talk a little bit about the overall budget process for half an hour. So just talk about how appropriations works. It gets a bad name, and it's got a job to do. I had somebody tell me last night, tremendous conservative. Actually, it's been a week. Tremendous conservative said, you know, Fleischmann does all the work. He's great at what he does. He gets it all done, and people complain about spending, et cetera, et cetera. But how are you going to pay your family budget if you don't appropriate a budget and pay your bills? And he's one of the best in the country and respected in the energy community. Maybe is the best resource and the best congressman we've had in decades, and we're lucky to have him. And he's going to talk today, and he's going to join us, and he really doesn't get a chance to do this much. He's so busy. And we're very grateful to him because there's so much going on, and so many people in Oak Ridge are worried around the country on the energy budget and the DOGE and everything else. But we need to put all that in a kind of a real perspective and meet the challenges. Welcome, Congressman.
Well, thank you, Alan. I appreciate that very kind introduction. And you're right. I'm America's energy congressperson. It's all about energy, energy, energy. I speak all over the country, but this is akin, and I'm glad to be here, to an exclusive.
Yeah, it is an exclusive. You haven't. That's big for us. I mean, we're yes. A little community television. But we're in the know. We know what we're doing.
Well, and as you know, I love Oak Ridge. I'm from Chattanooga, but during my 15-year tenure in Congress, my rise on the Appropriations Committee, my work in energy, Oak Ridge has literally made me a national and really an international brand because of the wonderful
ambassadors, leaders of countries. I mean, you're on demand, and for you to take time to come see us. Of course, you always take time for the 3rd District folks. Chattanooga, Bradley, all the way up the hill.
Thank you.
Us, you've always had time. You've been on the show probably half a dozen times, but it's been harder to get you to get an update because we have so much going on in Washington and locally. And we want to thank you. I know not a lot of people do, but we want to thank you for all the sponsorships for high school football in East Tennessee. And it reaches Morgan County, Rome County, Anderson County. And we're going to get exposed to Knox County, which is not in your district this year, but we're on Comcast in that area too. So we're going to do some. But you're
fantastic.
But your replay is you're sponsoring the replays, and it really helps high school football.
The Chuck Fleischmann Instant Replay.
People love that.
They know it.
In Rome County, they know it. Everybody knows it in Anderson. It's just very, very popular. It goes in Campbell County, too. Yeah. You don't have a Campbell County more, do you?
I do. I have half of Campbell County.
Half of Campbell? Okay.
Half of Campbell, about a third of Scott, all of Morgan.
Yeah. All of Rome.
Yeah. All of Roan, all of Anderson.
And then we go south. Right down the list. You know, you just follow them down. It goes McMinn, Bradley, Hamilton. It's
Monroe,
incredible.
too.
Got Polk. I forgot Monroe, didn't I?
They love you in Monroe.
I love Monroe.
Yeah.
I mean, that's it. I mean, I've got to presume that was named after James Monroe.
It was.
Yeah.
And interesting, it was named after James Monroe, and the county was named after Madison. So named after Madisonville. I'm sorry, Madisonville was named after James Madison. Monroe and Madison ran against each other for the first time in Virginia, and Madison beat Monroe, but they both later became presidents.
Yeah.
So Madisonville is in Monroe County.
4 and 5, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Fascinating.
After Jefferson County, and the Federalists started getting a little more movement there. You know.
Great
Okay, so let's talk a little bit. Okay. Everybody here knows Donald Trump, President Trump, and in my opinion, doing a good job, doing a really good job setting out to do what he has to do. It's tough. Somebody talked to me yesterday, a couple of weeks ago, we got a new pope in the world, and for those of you who are not Catholic, he's still the head of a state. He can sign treaties. They work all around. Reagan used him to solve crisis in China. So the Vatican and the Catholic Church has a role to play, secular role to play, that's very, very important to everybody around the world. And basically, everybody was talking about the differences and all of the stuff that came up in terms of this or that. But it's interesting. I think having American presence in different things has really been good for us. President Trump has done what he promised to do. He's setting out to do cuts. And for people in the appropriations world, it's difficult. He's got to cut $177 million. He's doing this. I think in a pretty relatively moderate way. It's a moderate unless you're the guy that gets shot in the line, right? I think he's doing a good job. He's trying to get rid of waste. Elon Musk sacrificed his personal worth or whatever it is out in the world for the citizens of the United States. I give him credit. And Tesla's taking a beating. He's gone back to work. But anyway, so we have budgets, and some of those budgets are being presented in general terms. And what they expect, what the White House and the federal president's budget would like to see done on a congressional level. And we're going to talk a little bit about that because people get worried about different items of that in different categories. But, folks, it's a long process, and it takes a lot of people to agree on a budget. We're still working on the 24 budget right now. It's called 25, but it's basically the continuing resolution was a repeat of 24.
With a few anomalies and changes.
That's good.
24 was probably the best budget for energy and water in decades, and I worked so hard.
You did.
Alan, I got HALU money in there that's being competed for, $2.7 billion.
And we have to tell people, HALU is the fuel that reactors run on.
That is for the new reactors. That's exactly right. Highly enriched uranium. It's uranium that is enriched to up to 20%, usually 19.5, sometimes 19.75.
And what would low enriched uranium be?
Low enriched uranium would be enriched to 5%, and that's would be, or up to 5%, which is being used in the current reactors. So, for example, TVA in their reactors, they're using LEU, low enriched uranium. Then you get high enriched uranium, which is for the Generation 4 reactors. Right. We have people like Kairos, X-Energy, TerraPower in that regard. Bottom line was, I put up 2.8 billion for competition. In addition, in fiscal 24, I put up the money, $900 million for SMR competition, so that our good friends at TVA could compete with their choice, which was the GE Hitachi Generation 3 reactor, uses LEU, not HALU, but that competition, what a big, big win. In 25, when the budget failed and we did a continuing resolution, it did go forward, but those monies did not.
Okay.
So,
I got you. That's the point.
But you're right. We're still working off of those monies because Chris Wright, who was just before me recently.
Really like him.
Oh, he's incredible.
That was a great dinner we had.
Trump has picked a great cabinet, but his choice of Chris Wright, you were at the dinner with him.
Yes.
He came to Oak Ridge for 2 days right out the chute. I tell every energy secretary, you come to Oak Ridge first.
Sure.
Okay? Whether they're a Republican or Democrat, and they do.
Yeah.
Why? Because I hold the purse strings, but they know. If you see Oak Ridge, I'm a traditionalist.
In Oak Ridge, if you've never been to Los Alamos or you've never been to any of the plants, we have an advantage in that everything is pretty compact here.
Indeed.
I mean, you can see
Small.
everything.
It's 21 miles.
21 miles, and we do a lot of work in that 21 miles, don't we?
And
it had to be. And the reason it had to be when they built it in the war, because it was secret, and they had to keep it in the mountains and all of those different things that work. So anyway, so we're going through this budget, and we're trying to figure it out. Donald Trump, we have a problem in this country, and that's that we owe too much money. And we'll talk about that a little bit later, but you've got to cut the budget. But if you don't make changes to Social Security, we're never going to get ahead. And nobody wants to do that. Congress, the president, I get it. That's a kind of a thing. But somebody's got to bite the bullet. It won't happen to people on Social Security. But somewhere in the thing, and they've done it twice before in the modern era, but somewhere in the thing, people under 45 or 50, which aren't as many payers as our receivers in the older years, but we're going to have to make some adjustments. But we'll talk about that later. I don't need you on the record on that. So we got everything working. We got this energy budget. Chris Wright, the secretary, remember, people don't know who Chris Wright went and presented the general framework of the budget that they expect. Were you surprised by it? I thought it was pretty moderate. A lot of people don't.
Well, was I surprised by it? In some areas, yes. And we have to look at it. First of all, the overall number was going to be down. So we knew we were going to have fewer dollars to play with. Now, this is where I come in. The president proposes a skeletal budget, and Chris Wright was before my subcommittee. Many of you saw that. I met with the secretary candidly because he's a friend 2 days before he came before me.
Right.
And that's the case. me, and I had a good talk with him. I said, look, you should reach out to Republican and Democratic members on the subcommittee. The hearing will go better. He did, and it went well. After the meeting, we had a good talk about things. But where was I surprised? I was overall generally pleased with the EM environmental cleanup budget. We do environmental cleanup in Oak Ridge better than anywhere in the country. Now, I fund it all over the country, but our cleanup here is second to none. But that is near and dear to my heart. Nuclear energy budget, NE, was cut by about $408 million. That was a little bit of a surprise.
Percentage 25? I think it was 25. It's 1 point something budget.
It was probably 24%.
Now,
yes.
I don't know what I'm in the business, and I can't tell you what NE does.
Okay. What the NE portfolio, nuclear energy portfolio, the Department of Energy is set up, like most federal departments, in buckets. You'll have EM, environmental cleanup, NE, which does the work on the new nuclear reactors. It is nuclear energy. You have all of these fossil fuels.
All of these experimental reactors and all this new high-enriched HALEU-dependent reactors would come
fund
under
that.
NE?
Yes, they would fund that, and they would oversee that. But they would also pick the winners and losers.
Okay.
Remember, I put all the money up, and I've got my folks that I want to win, like TVA with their GE Hitachi 3, but Generation 3, I don't make that choice. So I can't earmark. I can't take that $900 million. I wish I could and say, give it all to my folks. I put it out there, and then they compete, and then DOE decides who wins and who loses.
So we don't have line items, but if you look at NE's budget, do you think the reactors will be impacted?
Somewhat.
Okay.
Somewhat. But what I'm going to be able to do then is come in. It takes 3 to tango, not 2. The White House, the House, and remember, I'm the chairman, so I will be writing the energy and water bill for appropriations. I sit on defense appropriations. I sit on labor, education, health, and human services appropriations. Alan, you know this, but for our listeners, I've got the strongest appropriations hand of anybody in Congress. House or Senate.
Absolutely.
It's the strongest. And we work towards that. You help me. Other people have helped me.
And I got to give Chairman Cole a lot of credit.
Absolutely.
He is disseminated, he's organized, he's delegated, and he's built a really good team. Tom gets right?
Tom Cole.
He gets a lot of credit.
He likes me. Why? I work hard. I do the things I need to do. I help the team. But in every area, when he needs a cardinal, and that's what I am, a subcommittee chair on appropriation, there's only 12 in all Congress. When he needs a cardinal, most of the time
everybody understands cardinal this month. Usually
yes, indeed.
But they basically, in the Capitol, what they've done is they call it a cardinal is the head of the appropriations committees, just like you saw in Rome. Cardinals are the highest level of the hierarchy of the church, and so you guys are the highest hierarchy.
Yeah. When I talk to the new pope, I'm going to tell him, look, I am a cardinal as well.
I heard you.
Indeed.
Give him an invitation.
I didn't have a vote. I've given him an invitation. We want him to come to Washington.
Yeah.
He's from Chicago. Speaks perfect English. He's a White Sox fan, so I'm a Met fan. What
are you suggesting that some people in Chicago don't speak perfect English?
No, but a lot of them
lived in Chicago.
I lived. Hey, the two things I got from Chicago was drinking coffee at the beginning and the end of the meal. You go to Chicago, they pour coffee first.
That's what
New York, you get it at the end of the meal.
Most people.
Okay. Philly, you're lucky to get it anywhere. You tell that to Sean. Okay. I love Philadelphia. I lived there for 3 years too.
So great.
And I love Sean.
Okay.
Sean Gleason.
He's great. We appreciate your sponsorship of the show.
But be that as it may, I did spend a little time in Chicago, and I received the coffee tip and my Midwestern accent, or what I think was a Midwestern accent.
Okay, back to what we're doing here. So we got a budget. So we get a budget, and we're looking through this NE budget, which is not very big percent. Let me just say this for the
We're going to be okay because I'm chairman.
Folks, I try to dissuade those kind of comments, but that's all right. So anyway, we've got a $51 billion budget that the Department of Energy is working on now. $51 billion. They excluded $25 billion from the cuts, weapons programs, NNSA programs.
Thank you.
Y-12 will not. Y-12, and I'm sure you had a big role, but Y-12 will not be affected as of today. And that's the way. So the $4.7 billion they want to cut has to come out of the other 26 billion in the budget, and that's where you get your 18%.
Well, Alan, you raised something that we needed to talk about for our listeners. And one of the things I love, several things I love about the Oak Ridge community in Anderson and Roane County, the citizens here understand the importance of the Department of Energy and everything it does.
They do.
But for those who may be new to the area, new to watching this, the Department of Energy, we've been talking about nuclear reactors, we've been talking about nuclear environmental cleanup, legacy cleanup, all near to me. But more than half of that budget is on nuclear weapons. I fund the nuclear arsenal, for the country. And all over the United States, we have NNSA, National Nuclear Security Administration, sites. We've got one right here in Oak Ridge. It's Y-12. We're building the uranium processing facility. Our dear friends at CNS do a tremendous job, a great job. I'll be on the record for the job they do, as does our cleanup contractor, as does our national lab contractor, UT Battelle. They're like three children to me, and I take care of them all. But having said that, the weapons portfolio is going to be fine, is going to be strong, is going to be kept modernized, and Oak Ridge is going to be leading in that.
Tell us a little bit about, just from your intelligence and what you know, what you can talk about. This is a sensitive area. Are we behind in the world? Are we behind in modernization? Or are we? My understanding as a layman in this area is, look, I'm kind of in the business, but the bottom line is, it seems to me that more percentage of budgets in the China and Russia and other places are going into military. Go ahead.
It's an excellent question. We are ahead in many areas. I will say this. In this format, I can say this. Unequivocally, the United States has the strongest, most efficient, most accurate nuclear weapons portfolio in the world.
Well,
we are second to none. Now, Russia and China and other countries that are in that nuclear club, but since Russia and China are our main adversaries, other countries who are friends of ours, the French have a very good, they broke from NATO, as you know. The British are very good at that. They're our allies. They're good. But our nuclear weapons are so good. Now, what concerns me is, and we have something called a triad. What that means is we have three legs, We have the Air Force that has our land-based missiles, our bombers, and then we have the Navy that has the submarines. No other country has anything near that. Russia does not. China is trying to get there. If you're going to look, it's like in athletics, in baseball, in football, as we look out. Where's our competition? Who's coming up? It's China. They're trying to build a triad. They've got a robust nuclear portfolio. They are not as gifted as we are, but they are growing. Russia does have a strong nuclear arsenal. If you recall, when they were the Soviet Union, they stole the nuclear secrets. They stole them at Los Alamos, not at Oak Ridge. I'm just saying. So, but the reality is, they are good at that. Sadly, they have tactical nuclear weapons that Putin has threatened to use. That's why I'm so
tactical
upset.
Meaning, folks, smaller.
Yes,
can hit. You could drop it on. You could drop it on. I don't know. You could drop it on Kingston, and it probably, except for depending on the wind, wouldn't impact an area much bigger than
correct.
3 or 4 surrounding counties.
And it's usable on the battlefield. They can fire it from a mortar or something, God forbid. And Putin threatened to use it. That's outrageous, and there should have been international condemnation of that language. You never threaten to use a nuclear weapon. Why? Because that heightens the potential that, God forbid, we would have a nuclear war. That's why I work hard every day to make sure that our nuclear weapons are financed to the most I can do, because we have to keep that deterrent up. We need to keep, and we've got the strongest, most updated nuclear arsenal in the world. That is our deterrent. That was Ronald Reagan. That is me. And that is Donald Trump. And by the way, thank you for your kind comments about Donald Trump. Tremendous cabinet. Yes. I'm on dial-up with the secretaries.
Sure.
I see the president. It's funny, Alan, when we people tell me, "Oh, let me tell you about Donald Trump." That I meet with Donald Trump. I've talked to Donald Trump. I've teach him about his golf game before, which you shouldn't do, by the way. Yeah, he's serious about his golf game and his grip. So he's an overlap. I'm an interlock, but that's okay. He's Yankees, I'm Mets. What are you going to do?
We'll close. We're going to stay on energy, but I'll say this. Donald Trump has been consistent from day one.
Yes.
This is what he believes. This is where we're at. It's all not going to work. But, we're not going to build iPhones here. It costs $3,500. But there are things that we can do. He's holding people accountable. Brilliant negotiator, knows what he's doing.
Yep.
And there's some pain in negotiation.
There is.
He met with, we were talking about the votes, he met with Cardinal O'Connor in the old days. Read his first book, The Art of the Deal. He had a very strong relationship with him at St. Patrick's at breakfast, all this stuff. So he's always reached out to leaders in those communities to listen, to learn, and I just have I have a great feeling about him and the First Lady.
Well, I do, and think about it. Russia, Ukraine. He can sit down with Zelensky. He can sit down with Putin and say, we've got to get this solved. And what has he said? The carnage is horrible. This would have never happened if Biden had not been in office. And I'm not here to pick on Democrats, but Biden was so bad because he was out of touch for so long. And really, sadly, since day one. People don't want to hear it, but it's the reality. And Putin took advantage of us. The rest of the world took advantage of us. No one is going to take advantage of Donald Trump.
Yeah. I agree 100%. Let's go to a break when you have time. I'm ready to go. Brad, if you're ready, just a 1-minute break will be great. Minute and a half, whatever you can do.
From Oak Ridge, Tennessee, IB3 Global Solutions conducts operations around the world to enhance the U.S. national security posture and minimize radiological and nuclear threats. IB3 Global Solutions. Mission first.
At Navarro, we partner with our clients to advance clean energy and deliver effective solutions for complex challenges in the nuclear and environmental fields.
Feeling overwhelmed with your business finances? At P&L Business Services, we handle all your bookkeeping, payroll, and tax needs. From federal tax returns to QuickBooks training, we've got you covered. With over 25 years of experience, we provide customized packages to fit your business. Focus on what you love most, building your business. Let us take care of the rest. Call 865-294-4792. P&L Business Services, empowering you to grow your business.
Fast 30 minutes. It's rolling. I'm glad we got 2 shows. We'll never get it all in. I want to remind everybody we're doing an 8-week series, having guests from all over the energy spectrum and local, too. We're going to have the mayors on, talk about development in the West Oak Ridge, all going on. And we're going to get a lot of different perspectives on energy. Oak Ridge does so much, and it's expanding west through the leadership of Wade in Roane County and Terry Frank and Mayor Frank. And Sean Gleason has been a huge leader in Oak Ridge. He's been up to see you many times on stuff, and I think Sean's taken that energy capacity.
So impressive. I meet with people all over the country, all over the world, and when I met Sean Gleason, I was like, wow, this guy is great.
In the neighborhood.
And he's just amazing, and we're lucky to have him here. Mm-hmm. And that just shows us, I'm so proud of the Oak Ridge community, all it does, but we continue to attract the best talent in the country.
Yeah, and I hope he stays in the community because he's the next generation of leadership. Talking about
Yeah.
Okay, let's go back real quick to SMRs, and we'll evolve into TVA. But SMRs, it's pretty confusing for people to keep up with.
Let me help.
You got a large reactors that are doing everything. I can remember at 12 standing over the swimming pool reactor at ORNL. We all grew up with that. And, we grew up with a 3 Mile Island. 79 was a busy year. And we got a lot of stuff going on. And but I remember, but the technology became available in the last decade to where we can build smaller reactors. And tell us, the purpose is to provide more energy, right?
Right. The purpose, if we sit back and look, what does the United States need? What does the world need? More energy, and more energy. we have got to figure out a way to get more energy, for more power, for more
Cleanest
generation.
energy source in the world.
That's correct. Now, in nuclear, big nuclear is tremendous. We're extending the life of existing plants. We're bringing back a plant at 3 Mile Island. We're bringing back a plant in Michigan. These are larger. We need larger. We need to build larger. Vogel in Georgia.
Larger reactor.
Thank goodness for Bechtel. They went in there and saved the day. Bechtel is a main partner in who? CNS here.
Yes.
Love the folks at Bechtel. You know that.
Yep.
Top to bottom. But we need large nuclear. Where did I get involved in small nuclear? Now, we've got advanced reactors. We've got small modular reactors.
What's an
SMRs.
advanced reactor? For
An
the folks
advanced
at home?
reactor is a new technology that would probably be more of the generation 4 using HALEU. They're advanced. They're smaller. SMRs, small modular reactor, would use the LEU fuel, the 5% enriched, the existing fuel supply, like the GE Hitachi model that TVA has chosen, that the Canadians have chosen. There's several designs out there for advanced reactors, small modular reactors, and I've got to talk about microreactors. This is what we would call a trash can reactor. Why? It's smaller. It can be used by the Department of Energy. It can be used by the Department of Defense, forward deployment for our troops. And as you know, I've got that coveted slot on defense appropriations now,
Yes, you do.
which took years to get, but we got it. You and I talked about that almost daily for about a year.
Another
and
good
we got
decision
there.
by Tom Cole.
Yeah, they're fantastic. He saved the day. He sure did. But these things just don't happen. We plan for it. But in new nuclear, we have great American technologies out there. There are several of them. And what we want to do is perfect them here, build them here, and then export them to the world. I sit with the folks in Eastern Europe all the time, Romanians. I sat with the Czechs. I sit with these people, and what do they say? We want American technology. We don't want Russian or China technology. You talked about earlier where we were vis-a-vis them. We're actually a little bit behind the Chinese and the Russians in new nuclear, okay? New civil reactors and stuff.
Yeah.
Yes. And why? They go in, let me pick on the Chinese a little bit, to their credit, they'll go in, they'll say, we'll design it, we'll build it, we'll fuel it, we'll finance it, and we'll take your spent nuclear fuel when we're done with it and
But
reprocess
we need
it.
to park our ships down the street, right?
So what we need to do is we need to get into this, and we are into this, and I've gotten such tremendous bipartisan. You know this, Alan. I am a Republican, okay, and I wear my R proudly.
And a conservative Republican.
And a conservative Republican, especially on social issues.
You just got a reward for 100%.
I did, but I have worked with people on both sides of the aisle on new nuclear, and they all know about Oak Ridge. They know what we do. They know we're the best in the nation, and I love all the sites, but we are the best in the nation at what we do, bar none. So the point is, I have these caucuses. I chair 8 caucuses, that 7 of which are nuclear related. And what happens? I bring Republicans and Democrats together in droves to work on what we're working on here. So tremendous bipartisan support and tremendous support from our friends in the Senate, Republican and Democratic.
Yeah, and that's something people don't understand, that we, let's just shift for 5 minutes to TVA.
Yes.
Maybe 10. But we get into TVA.
Maybe 3 shows.
Yeah.
And I like TVA. I'm a Republican who likes
but they've
TVA.
got an
I'm a
uphill
fan.
battle here.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I have a few questions about that, because I really like Mo, and I like a lot of my executive friends that work for TVA and everything. We'll talk about that budgeting a little bit. But Don's a good guy. It's at the dinner, too. We talk.
Yep.
Had a good talk.
As was Jeff Lyash.
Yeah, I talked.
Lyash was the best in the business, the
You like
previous
that.
guy.
You were big. Yeah, you were good. Anyway, so I mean, they are self-imposing a budget of $1 billion in cuts over 6 months. They seem to be trying to make efforts on a lot of areas. The question comes down not to their, at least in my book, the way I see it and read it, and I've done some reading on studying on this, and basically it's if I could sum it up, the senators have a concern about their ability to manage the nuclear part of it. That's what I read. Okay, that they don't have the expertise on the board or the expertise here. And so I know one senator, I'm going to be nameless. One senator wants to replace them all and put all Republicans in the seat. Let me tell you something. That's about as doable as we leaving for the moon right now. I mean, it's just not going to happen. No Democrats on the Senate side with a 60 filibuster are going to allow you to stack the TVA board with 9 Republicans. But you probably have a right to have 5 and 4 or whatever. So we now have a disabled board.
We don't have a quorum.
That's correct. Pretty slick, though. I thought that was a good move. Rather than going out firing everybody, just take 2 out and disable them.
Let's lay this out for
That's a
our
good move
listeners.
for the senators.
TVA has a 9-person board. Going into the Trump administration, there were 3 seats unfilled. So there were 6. You need 5 to have a quorum to do business.
Correct.
President Trump terminated 2 of those positions, so currently TVA has 4 people. All of those 4 and all of those prior 6 were Biden appointees.
That's the problem.
That's why it's important that we win elections, okay?
Yeah.
People say, why was it so important for Trump? These appointments, whether it's to the United States Supreme Court or the TVA board, we want to get folks who are like-minded. And I'm going to say this, common sense minded. I get so aggravated at my Democratic progressive friends who think we can do it all with renewables. We cannot. We cannot. And New Democrats realize this. Some of the progressives don't. So they're like wind and solar and wind and solar. Nothing wrong with solar. But the reality is you can't get there.
Yeah.
You can't get there with that.
Not in our lifetime.
You need natural gas. You need oil. You need fossil fuels. You need nuclear. We've got to have that.
When we finish TVA, I want to talk about drilling, but go ahead.
Right. But TVA right now does not have a quorum. President Trump will be basically picking the new board members. But Alan raised a key point. We've got to look at how do you get to 60 votes in the Senate. So a nominee for the TVA board, before he or she can even get voted on, will have to get past that 60 threshold vote in the Senate. So what that ultimately means is there's going to have to be a deal. You'll probably get some type of a mixed board. But I want people on that board who are commonsensical, who understand for TVA to be successful, it's going to have natural gas, it's going to have nuclear, it still has part of the coal portfolio, all of the above, and solar. We want to make sure that solar's in there. We're not excluding it. But I do think we need to get away from wind. Wind's got too many problems, but let them decide that. By the way, hydro. We're 11% hydro at TVA. It's incredible.
What's the application of hydro at TVA? Explain that.
Well, these are the dams that were built that where water.
So 11% of the total electricity is being provided by dams.
Yes, which is great. And hydro nationally is doing very well. Geothermal is doing very well. We just don't have it in East Tennessee. Commercial deployment, that's why I work so hard.
Dams.
Yes, indeed. And unfortunately, out in the West, you can't believe this, some of these Democrats are wanting to tear down perfectly good existing dams that are producing clean hydropower. They want to tear it down. It's unbelievable.
For what reason? What would be the justification?
They want to protect fish. Okay, and
I
I respect
guessed.
that.
I don't know why I didn't just
but I respect that on one level. But my gosh, these dams are producing clean, abundant energy in a part of the world that needs energy.
You know, I was at a dinner with a bunch of different people that are in the business, and I'm across the table. I won't mention their name, talking about how we need different kinds of technology, and then environmental stuff is important, et cetera, et cetera. And I turned to a CEO of a large company, and I said, that ship has sailed. It ain't going to happen in this administration. It's probably not going to happen in the next one, because if you have a portfolio of 10 things that you think are good to do, you've got to get the top 3 right first.
Amen.
Before you get the next one.
You can't do everything. And that's why I love Trump so much. He said, I'm going to fix the border. I mean, how many people cross the border now? 2? I mean, it's amazing. He did that quickly, and he followed the law, and he's taken on these crazy sanctuary cities and ridiculous policies everywhere. I mean, it's
you can't
amazing.
get it fixed until you stop them from coming in. Now you start deporting, your net numbers go better.
That's exactly right.
And they're stopping them on the border.
Getting rid of criminals, getting rid of gangs, getting rid of people that should have never been here. And again, I'm not here to be Joe Republican or Chuck Republican, but the reality is Biden and Harris incentivized that. They said, come on in, come on over. And they came over in droves and overran the system. And now
and there were Congress people in certain urban areas that were saying, I need more.
Need more.
Vote them all.
Yeah. And look at
it's
these,
corrupt.
Look at these cities. It's not only corrupt, it's costing taxpayers in New York, in Philadelphia, in Chicago. It's breaking their economic structure because they've got to pay for all this.
God bless him, the mayor of New York. He took him on, didn't he?
He took him on.
Yeah, he said,
I'm
for
really
Trump.
did.
Yeah, that's it. He didn't have a choice.
He didn't have a choice. It was breaking the bank.
What's the solution for TVA? What if President Trump stalls for 7, 8, 9 months because he knows he's got him in a headlock? You know what I'm saying?
Well, let me say this. I am speaking with the Trump administration weekly about this. I do. Let our listeners know, our watchers know, I don't have a vote in this. It's our two senators who will basically make the choices to the president. Rest assured, Donald Trump will be involved with this. When Donald Trump makes this decision, I'm sure he's going to ask my opinion. My opinion will be this: get good, solid, pro-Trump Republicans who understand energy, who understand business, who understand common sense, and share my appreciation for keeping the environment strong. I'm an environmentalist. I believe in environmental policies and keeping our air and water clean, okay? And we can do that with new nuclear. We can do that with natural gas. We can do that with the technologies we have. But we've got to have a goal of producing more and more energy. Otherwise, we're going to end up like some of these other countries and other parts of the country where we're having brownouts and blackouts. And I will say this: Bill Lee and I get along very well. He and I have sat with our senators and people at TVA and said, look, you've got to produce the energy because we want to make absolutely certain, Alan, that when a new employer looks at our state, and our state's probably one of the best states to do business in. Thank God, no state income tax, low regulations. I mean, we welcome businesses. But they ask, do you have energy for us? If they get a maybe,
that's right.
They will not come.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Well, and you know, so still we're at what's the time frame on TVA getting board appointments? You have no control over that, but not just as the Senate recommended, but the White House has still got to act on it, right?
White House has got to act on it. I'm talking with them literally a couple of times a week.
Okay.
My hope would be that we would get names within a month, and then get them before Senate confirmation.
This summer.
Both of our senators have a lot of work to do because they're going to have to be able to strike a deal with the White House and sadly with Schumer to get to 60 votes. That's the reality.
Once again, folks, 60 votes. You say, well, we got 54. How can they have 60? It works like this.
53. Well, actually 54 with the vice president.
That's right. So you got 54. You got 46 they're working with, or 47. So what happens is that if you don't have 60 between the two sides, they can filibuster, stop it, and you'll never get the process done.
Yep.
And that's where we're at right now. And I think we know we'd rather make a deal where we can get support from both sides and get it done. And I think the plan is to leave the 4 Dems on there and just get you 5 Republicans who can work together, right?
Yes. And I want it to be 5-4 Republican at least. But getting common sense. If you're going to get a Dem, if you have to take a Dem, have it be a Dem that understands, and there are some of them out there. I will tell you this, and I'm not picking on them, they will come to my caucuses. I had a Democrat from Massachusetts, who will remain nameless this week, came to me and said his 2 senators were wrong, a Dem, and he said, I want to join your nuclear caucuses because you're absolutely right. We need clean, reliable nuclear power.
This is a congressman?
Yes,
okay.
And younger Dems join my caucuses with Republicans. Why? Because they know we need clean,
not a part of the old
nuclear.
fight.
That's right.
I mean, to the older guys, and this goes ours too, the older guys are more wrapped up in the fight they've been in for 20 years rather than what's best for America.
That's exactly right. And the older guys are whether it's Warren or is it Mackey? Who's their other senator? Help me.
I can't get past Warren.
Warren and the guy that beat Kennedy. Goodness gracious.
Markey.
Markey. That's right. It was Markey. I served with him in the House. I should have remembered that. You're never going to get them. You're never going to get Nancy Pelosi on nuclear, okay? They're never going to get there. It's an age thing. But these younger Democrats who disagree with me on everything are working with me on nuclear power.
Okay.
And guess what they all say? I want to see Oak Ridge. I've heard about your place.
Yeah.
Okay? I'm a classicist. We are the Rome of DOE.
Yeah, I got you.
All roads lead to Oak Ridge.
It's
Thank
funny,
God.
too. I really think that people will merge. I mean, and nuclear is such an easy choice.
Yes.
I mean, it's just clean. Anyway, I don't see why people wouldn't want. France is probably one of the most progressive nations in the world. 88% of their electricity comes from nuclear. They're smart.
They guess right. The poor Germans guess wrong. France, and I'm working with the French on a weekly basis. The reality is, when we brought Orano in, we got Centris, which is an American
like
country
Jean-Luc.
here. Jean-Luc is great, and we've got Centris here in Oak Ridge. We have Orano coming. We're going to have just great companies. Urenco is out west. They're British, Dutch, and German, but they're producing LEU right now and will ultimately be players in the game. That competition is going to play out. Chris Wright will make that decision. I will not. But we're getting more and more people looking at new nuclear. But we've got to win this, because if we don't, the French and the South Koreans, who are our friends, will get into this market and beat us. And God forbid the Russians and Chinese will get into this market.
But you got to have money to do that.
Got to have money to do it.
And that's in the NE budget?
Yes.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah,
I mean, we took a little bit of a haircut, but I'm going to be working on that.
Okay, so let's talk about the other parts. So I give you this general thing, NE gets cut. We were talking for a minute. We're not worried about NSA at this point. We're fine. Our biggest problem is getting the new leadership in there. Got some other things. So now we move to an EM. Basically, our understanding is Hanford won't be touched, but you got to spread out the other 5 to 8% cuts across the board.
Correct.
That's the high
and remember this, we can never forget our friends at the other side of the Capitol. I walk over there on occasion to see our friends in that body called the United States Senate. Met with John Kennedy about a couple weeks ago.
Louisiana.
Sat with him, Louisiana. And so everybody knows, why am I going over to see John Kennedy? He is the chairman of the Energy and Water Subcommittee of Appropriations in the Senate. I'm the chairman in the House. So ultimately,
Then they're protecting his oil, isn't it?
well, he
I like
likes
John.
he loves our portfolio, but he loves nuclear too.
Good.
And just
Common sense, yeah.
what a witty, smart, gentle, kind man he is.
Yep.
He's got a big old alligator up there in the front of his office that came from Louisiana.
Is it real?
It's real.
Dead?
It's dead,
Okay, that's good.
taxidermied.
Dead's good.
And the like. But just sitting there, and he. By the way, he's a Vanderbilt grad as well. Such a great appreciation for our state of Tennessee. But again, Alan, it's amazing, and it makes my heart swell so much with good feelings. What do they say? Oak Ridge, Oak Ridge, and Oak Ridge.
Yeah.
It's amazing. This community is so good at everything we do.
Yep.
DOE.
And I want to say clearly that when he says Oak Ridge, that's a brand. It includes Roane County, Anderson County.
Yep.
And I mean, the energy mission is in Oak Ridge, and it's developed. But actually, Ornell sits in Roane County.
County.
Okay, so we're working towards that. We got another whole show to do, but let's talk here at the end a little bit about oil and drilling. And
Sure.
we're going to talk about science in the next second segment. Oil and drilling. Priority for the president. Priority. And do you remember what I said to the secretary at the dinner? I got up and said, everybody talked about nuclear. I said, just drill. That's what you're sent there for.
Yep.
Get it done. I know all these things are important, but you got to drill. And you got to drill, and you got to get. And he's an expert in natural gas. Now he's drilled.
He really is.
Made a lot of money.
He perfected fracking of natural gas with his company Liberty Energy.
Mm-hmm.
But he's so approachable, such a nice man.
It's like-
If you saw his good heart in that hearing when he came before me, and he's honest, which is great. And
I was in
that's-
Colorado with
Yeah.
Charlie in the early days in '88 when people were riding bicycles up in Aspen, and they're doing this up in Evergreen. And this is this guy. I mean, he is that guy. I mean, he's that person who is just so healthy. He looks 40. He's 60. I mean,
Yeah, that's
unbelievable.
right.
What a great guy.
He is Colorado. He's got a place in Montana. Right. He called me this winter, and he was like, I'm out in Montana. I've never been to Montana or Colorado.
It's cold.
And I know Charlie loves it out there.
Yeah, he does.
But be that as it may, what a good person, approachable. I mean, we speak, we communicate, we work together.
Yeah.
And I tried to
He's
tell
got a
the
job
dams,
to do.
I tried to tell the dams on the subcommittee, look, give this person a chance.
Yeah.
Jennifer Granholm and I did not agree on a lot of stuff, but we were on dial-up.
Yeah.
And I could pick up the phone
You're
and
a communicator.
say,
That's
yes,
right.
Madam Secretary, look, this is important. When we're talking about the Generation 4
And Ernie
reactors.
Moniz.
Ernie
That's your buddy.
and I from the Obama administration. He has 2 baseball cards, Louis Tiant and mine. So, which is good. And I know you're a Red Sox
Well,
fan.
I would
that's
probably
right.
be.
But you're a Chuck Fleischmann fan
I would,
too.
I would keep the Tiant card. I
Okay,
think.
okay. There
So
you
anyway, but we got. But the
Thank you.
point's still the same: is that we got to drill. Where's
We
that
got to
money
drill.
coming from?
Okay, government and private sector. But let me say this: when I was in high school, Alan, and I'm a little bit younger than you, but not much.
yeah.
Okay, I'm 62. We literally were taught in class that within 30 years there was going to be that last barrel of oil in the world. Thank God they were wrong. We have found reserves in the United States.
Bigger than Saudi Arabia's.
That dwarf the size of the Saudi Arabian oil fields in Texas, the Permian Basin, in Alaska, and we can drill safely. We can do that. So we do. We've got to get supply. We have natural gas. We have probably natural gas reserves in this country 300 to 400 years with growth projections figured in there.
And you know what? You got to get a pipeline to New England. They're paying $1,500 for gas and electric.
That's exactly right.
You got to get a pipeline up there. We got to work.
Those poor people in New England, because I remember when I
don't want
lived in
oil, they don't
Northeast,
want reactors.
they've got a big old oil tank about the size of this table, and they come by and they would fill it up, and thank God that it does heat their house, but it's expensive. So we've got to go out there again, drive up supply, and that will actually bring the price down for all Americans, because that's...
Are we going to get it done?
Yes, we are going to get that done. No question.
I mean, moving regulations is as important as the money.
It
you
is.
get the regulations out of the way and you don't overdo it.
Yep.
That'll help you a lot. Brad, let's take one more commercial break and get to the end of the show, and we'll start the second segment. We'll be here next week, but we're just happy that we're getting so much information. We got a lot to talk about. ORNL's first up next segment, and
got a great job. Just got a renewal of their contract, a 94 score from the Department of Energy. UT Battelle running the best premier national lab in the country, and I know them all. I'll never lie to you. They are the best.
You know a
not
lot
just
about
at Chris or mine, but ORNL is exemplary, and I do want to talk about them.
yeah, we will. We got a lot to talk about. All right, Brad.
From Oak Ridge, Tennessee, IB3 Global Solutions conducts operations around the world to enhance the U.S. national security posture and minimize radiological and nuclear threats. IB3 Global Solutions. Mission first.
At Navarro, we partner with our clients to advance clean energy and deliver effective solutions for complex challenges in the nuclear and environmental fields.
Feeling overwhelmed with your business finances? At P&L Business Services, we handle all your bookkeeping, payroll, and tax needs. From federal tax returns to QuickBooks training, we've got you covered. With over 25 years of experience, we provide customized packages to fit your business. Focus on what you love most, building your business. Let us take care of the rest. Call 865-294-4792. P&L Business Services, empowering you to grow your business.
Welcome back. We're sitting here talking. We got about 8 minutes left, 7-8 minutes. So we're going to talk about ORNL in this segment instead.
Thank you.
So let's do it. Let's talk about it. I like Stephen.
Stephen Schreifer has been an outstanding lab director.
He communicates, doesn't he? He's not. He's got a little bit more marketing skills.
He
than some,
communicates.
directors.
He listens. He has been, I think, unique in his outreach to the communities. And when I say the communities, not only the Oak Ridge community, But to Chattanooga, to Nashville, every time I've asked Stephen to please go somewhere, he went over to MTSU, and you're probably their most famous alum.
Yeah, that would be right. I think Mr. Smith might disagree with that. But
that's right. That's exactly.
But
well,
we
he
do
played baseball. You played basketball.
I played for a year, and then I made the mistake of getting out of college basketball and going straight for politics and helping my good friend Jim Sasser in those days.
I understand. And then, thank God, you saw the light and became a Republican.
He was as conservative. Jim Marine was as conservative as anybody we'd ever seen on this side.
Bill Brock, didn't he?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah. Okay. I know my Tennessee politics, and I knew them both. Be that as it may, ORNL, Stephen Stryfer has done a great job there, but he's got a great team. He's got Mo, he's got Belindra.
Belindra's great.
Oh,
Belindra's on the top.
Yes,
he's
indeed.
Top shelf. He's top.
I don't want to forget Dr. McCarthy there, Dr. Hubbard. I mean, their whole leadership team is just so good. And for our listeners, I fund all the national labs, okay, through the Office of Science, and candidly, in this last budget, what did I say to my good friend, the Secretary of Energy? National Press picked it up. We need to fully fund the Office of Science. Our national labs are incredible, but there's one above the rest, and it's ORNL. Every function that a national lab performs, let's say there's 25 of them, ORNL does it. So we may have another lab.
Where does their funding come from? There's not enough in the NE budget for them to be funded out of there.
Well, the Office of Science basically funds everything at all the national labs. So they would get actually line items for all the things that they would be doing. So what ORNL does, they do it exceedingly well for years, and I've been in Congress 15 years. Every year they come with a wish list or a want list, and that might be 30 lines, okay? I said, come with your number one. By the way, CNS or Y12 UPF does the same thing. My number one over the years has always been funding for UPF, just to be candid with everybody.
Sure.
And legacy cleanup. Those are the three main missions. We do other things. ORAU does great work here. They get funded as well. But my
who funds
big
ORAU?
DOE. So
I mean, which funding mechanism?
They get. I think they get several.
Okay,
funding
that's
from
fine.
several.
Yeah,
because,
that makes sense.
But they do. There's nothing like ORAU in the country. That's why they always win their contract
A
rebates.
lot of universities involved.
Yes. Several, and they keep adding. But the reality is, when you look at ORNL, the other labs partner with them. Now,
what's their number one mission at ORNL? Where do they spend the most money? What do they do? My father worked there 40 years, but I mean,
that's where my heart is. It's science. It's an 80-20. Another excellent question. If someone's watching this show, what do the national labs do? Some have a science focus. Some have a nuclear weapons focus, and let me be specific. Los Alamos, Sandia, Lawrence Livermore, and I've been to these places and actually seen the nuclear portfolio. They are weapons labs, okay? Oak Ridge is about 20% weapons. What we do for weapons is critically important. It's classified. I can't talk about it. Very, very important. But it's 80% science and science related. So materials research, supercomputing, nuclear research, medical research, medical isotopes. Alan, when I talk to presidents, prime ministers, kings, princes, sheiks all over the world about what we do at ORNL, think about this. Medical isotopes. Oak Ridge is the only source of several key medical isotopes outside of Russia. It's either Russia or us. So the entire world looks to us for these medical, manufacturing, and military isotopes.
Do you think
that's HIFER, by the way?
Yeah, putting on a side question, do you think the Russians have more people studying STEM by design?
Yes.
They have more math and science people? I think so too.
Yes, and the Russians did something. We made a mistake. When we ended the Cold War, and thank God we did, what we basically said is, it's over. We no longer need a nuclear deterrent. We'll just leave it there. We no longer need it. The Russians never stopped. Yeah. That's why they have the edge on HALEU. Okay, they do a lot of things wrong, but HALEU they were dumping HALEU on the world market, that's highly enriched uranium, up to 19.75%, less than 20%, but they flooded the world with market with cheap HALEU. Okay, now we have a ban on that. Okay, President Biden signed the ban. I voted for the ban. Okay, on Russian HALEU. Now I don't know what's going to happen when Trump works out the deal with Russia and Ukraine, and he will. He'll get that thing settled. And
you got to get Ukraine back up in some equity before you have a chance to negotiate. In other words, my opinion on the war, not science-wise, is if Russia's allowed to dominate without support for Ukraine. They both got to have a motivation to quit.
Absolutely. But getting back, and I digressed, I'm sorry.
I did.
Getting back to ORNL, the 3D printing, I mean, we 3D printed a car, and that is actually sitting in the lobby of the Department of Energy. I was down there this week. I said, that's my car that we had at ORNL for years, which is great. The rest of the world sees this. So other countries want to partner with ORNL. And it's a very secure place, but our leadership team there, and by the way, who runs ORNL? The University of Tennessee, my alma mater, UT, and then Battelle out of Ohio, and they run about 9 labs, but they partner up. But Texas A&M is running Los Alamos as well with Battelle. They got Tom Mason down there, another incredible lab director, was here. But I can't thank Steven Streifer and his team enough. They work with me. I work with them. It's a great partnership between private, public, local, state, and elected officials. I mean, our team is just so good.
So if their team is impacted by the new general budget that's been presented by DOE and their team is impacted, and there's no way they're escaping all the cuts.
Correct.
So, and some of them, future research, windmill stuff. You know what I'm talking about. I use windmill as a brand. I don't mean literally windmills, but all this futuristic stuff. That's good. They can let that go. They're going to have to let that go. Some of that fusion gone for a while, right?
No, fusion got a good mark. Actually, interestingly enough, it won't be as robust as it was on the prior administration. But Chris Wright and I met with the Fusion Caucus this week. I brought the Republicans and the Democrats down to Forstall, and they wanted to talk fusion. Now, I'm a fission person, but I'm the Republican lead on fusion because I've got to figure, look, it's fission today. God willing, maybe fusion tomorrow. The Chinese are putting a lot of money.
Meaning a decade from now.
Yeah, but China is putting a lot of money on fusion, and they've made some major gains. But the reality is, we went down. There will be dollars there for fusion as well. I'm the Republican lead on the Fusion Caucus as well. But the reality is, we're going to get there. It's not going to be as robust.
Okay, and we cut you off. We'll pick it up next week. But right now, we got to go. We appreciate everybody watching. This will be available for weeks. Thank you so much.
Thank you.